you are ready.
Okay,
There you go. We are
I'm
recording.
ready.
Sharky.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Reyes, for hosting,
I'm going
and
to.
and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I understand that we have just under 40 people on the call, which is great. You know, Mrs. Sharkey asked me just earlier, why did we pick 6:30? Perhaps that was something on my end that I should have rethought. Dinner time's important, so I apologize. But the call is recorded and it will be on our website. And so those of you who are able to join us, that's really great. And thank you, staff, assistant principals, and whatnot for joining us as well. Tonight's intentions are really simple. We had a nice run. And when I say that, I would like to say a successful run. It seems like yesterday, but it was in March. We came together as a school community in a remote fashion. And here we are now, 3 days prior to the last day of school. And so with that, the intention of tonight is to give you insight as to what's going on, what will be happening over the summer, and giving you as much information so you're very much part of being in the know. And so tonight will be about learning what the DOE is thinking and suggesting and what's their reflections at the moment, and also share with you some of the things that are happening on the school level as an outcome of and what we're planning on doing as we continue the rest of the year. So as we jump into it, I also would like to ask Rosanna Gottlieb, our PTA president, who is wonderful throughout this whole duration, supporting us in many ways. Rosanna would like to share and update you all as well with some of the happenings with our PTA. So I'll mute for a second, and Rosanna, if you don't mind, if you want to jump in, appreciate it.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So we have elections coming up sometime before Halloween, I guess. We'd have to do that, when we start to get back into the swing of things and we get back to regular, voting, elections, things like that. It would be done sometime before October 31st. So you guys are kind of stuck with me for a little bit longer. But that's okay. So PTA has funds for, we funded in June, we funded pre-K, K, and fifth grade videographers to do, I guess, video virtual graduations. So PTA was responsible for that. And the banner that hangs outside the school, if you guys haven't seen it, there's a really beautiful banner from RL Press that's hanging on the gate outside. So go take a picture. It's there. It should be there for a while, I think, or at least throughout the summer. We have to think about the future of fundraising and how we're going to operate as a PTA. We're probably not going to be doing a lot of the, the pretzel sales, the pencil sales, the little toys, tchotchke knickknacks we used to sell. So we have to move into thinking differently for how we're going to raise funds. And right now it's online. A lot of the stuff is online. So, I mean, there's lots of things you can sell online. I know the junior high, I know IS7 is selling shirts, they're selling t-shirts, new gym uniforms, things like that. We do have, it's just a matter of, I guess, researching and, calling people and finding out what things we can sell online and how we can move to, fundraise differently. Okay, so the school supplies, I wanted to actually address the whole school supply thing because that's very confusing. A lot of you guys, I guess, ordered school supplies in the past, and they are sending out emails to people who have ordered. They have your emails on file online. So now the company is advertising like that. If you did, now some people did purchase some supplies, and that's okay. You will get those supplies. You're going to notice that the list that they have, those are the lists that we used to use when we were, brick and mortar. We were in the school building. We had, we needed all those books and we needed all those crayons, markers, scissors, things like that. We needed to use it there. So if you ordered, is it coming? Yes, it's coming. Is it fine? Sure, it's fine. Is it going to be more than you need? It might be more than you need. You know what I mean? We want to, I guess, wait till closer to we have some sort of direction to modify those lists so that we can get a better list out to you that, you know, is more accurate of what you might need, because I feel it's going to be it might be a lot less paper, pencils, things like that. Maybe, you know, we might be more geared towards computers, but we don't know yet. We're not even sure. So they send their things out. They want to get it at a certain deadline so that they can get the products to the customer by end of August. I don't know anything. So if you want those, it's a fundraiser for the school. They will cut us a check. We will make money from that. But it's kind of like a buyer's caveat, where you're buying it because you want it, or because you need it, or because you know, if you have some extra notebooks or you have some extra markers in your house, you're going to be okay with that, because we can't refund any of the things that you buy. So it's not like, you know, I only needed 4 notebooks this year. I ended up with 8. We can't return them. So that's going to be a judgment call. It's completely up to you at this point. If you bought them, it's okay. But I would say if you want a more accurate list of what you're going to need, wait a little bit longer, so, you know, we have some sort of direction. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Mr. Sharkey?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. I think, no, you really hit it out of the park. And if you don't mind, I'll just like build off of a little bit about the PTA piece, because you and I have had multiple really cool conversations about thinking out of the box. So, you know, I think, you know, Rosanna and all of our parents and staff, and as we continue to message when we come back together in September, the creativity is really in our school. We got a lot of thoughtful, creative people. And I think our fundraising is going to be more now than ever, very much needed. You know, we always utilized every dollar, and that always goes back to kids. So I think as we go into our next school year, let's continue doing great things with fundraising and thinking out of the box, because sometimes our fundraising, like I'll give you an example. You did the fun run, or you do a plant sale, or you do a holiday show, and even like not just fundraising, but like our school events. I'm thinking that as we progress into the new school year with the criteria from the Department of Health and CDC and the DOE, I'm thinking that our large group environments are going to look a little different. And so with that said, how could we continue fundraising, but maybe utilize technology, utilize a virtual platform? And so let's think out of the box. Rosanna, when I watched you do the 5th grade video, your little speech to the 5th graders, how creative were you? That was excellent. And so with that creativity, let's just keep that going. I think with your leadership, and then deputizing your constituents of parents, asking them, you know, there was another example, Liz Kettleson a while back, I don't know if she's on the call, but a parent in our PTA was saying, let's try something different with the art show. Let's try this. And so every time we come up with new ideas, that's excellent. So let's continue thinking out of the box for September, and we'll have to identify what perhaps might not work in the type of environment that we might be working in. I also would like to say thank you on behalf of the boys and girls to our PTA, that you, as well as all the parents with the PTA funds, paid for a pre-K, K, and grade 5 videos. The staff had a great time making them. We made the best of it all. We kept the entire vibe and culture of those videos to be positive, and it was. And we learned something when doing so, that I don't think we can go back a little bit in the future. I don't think we can go back where our traditional ceremonies were sometimes only a portion of our staff could be part of it. I think we have to embrace, how did we use technology to let everyone celebrate our kids? For example, 5th graders had a chance to go through the entire faculty in their number of years working at it at 42. So those teachers wanted to connect, and they're going to want to continue that. They said that to us, like, this is something we want to be part of. So thank you, PTA, for making sure that happened. And I also want to say thank you for your help with the parade and the decorations and the banner. We had a nice time. It was in a very, very emotional day. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm an honest person, probably to a level where maybe I'm too honest, but you know, I turned around during that parade to look at some of the faculty an earshot away, and the assistant principals were in a sense literally by the banner, and I was on that corner looking out, and not a single dry eye was down Genesee and Wainwright, and all of our teachers shared. It was very emotional. We love you. We had the opportunity to see our kids and our families. So that was a wonderful day. And thank you for helping execute that. And Rosanna, I can say it again publicly that you out of the gate wanted to do this so fast out of the gate. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to process it, work within the guidelines of the Department of Education. That's very important. You know, I know that some schools and some environments did things differently at a different pace, but we did it, and we didn't do it because we wanted to do it just to say we did. We wanted to do it and do it right. And I can say we did. We had a lot of people celebrating, and it was a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. So again, back to the PTA, thank you for helping us get that done. I think you talked a little bit about fundraising and the work that you guys have done in the past, a little bit on the yearbooks, just to let everyone know that Rosanna is working very hard with the yearbooks. I also jumped in on a call with our yearbook company, and it was a very pleasant call, and they said that Rosanna is working very hard with the company. And so thank you, Rosanna, for what you're doing and continue to do. And I understand with your focus and working with them, it is coming in earlier than anticipated, early July. And so thank you for helping us getting them out to our families. On the day of the final assembly, I jumped into every single fifth grade Google Meet with our teachers were holding. And I had a chance to say hello and congratulations and whatnot. But I also promised our fifth graders that, to me, my opinion, I think we're entitled to opinions, right? And so the Brian Sharkey, not just the principal, but the Brian Sharkey in this call as well, to me, my opinion is not complete until it's signed. I would like to sign as many as I can. So what we're going to do is promise our fifth graders, we're going to keep in touch with them because we have their Google Gmail accounts and we have their email. And so we're going to be thinking differently as we keep moving on. But we're going to keep in touch with our fifth graders who are now sixth graders very shortly. And I will talk to the leadership of their middle schools, whether it's IS 7, 75, or 34, or 24, any school, contact the families as well as the leadership, and carve out a time where we can set up perhaps in our schoolyard some tables and put out the banner and sign each other's yearbooks. It'd be nice for kids to be able to do that too. So I will continue to lean on you with that as well, Rosanna, and the PTA to make that event just as special too. When that happens, it will be a collaboration. We'll decide together as a group because I'm in the dark just like everyone else. We just don't know. But that's a nice little token, the last piece I would like to do, and our word is good. So Rosanna, thank you for everything in our PTA. So as I mentioned before, I'm looking at the time and I want to be very, very mindful of everyone's time, but I also feel that I want to share with you as much information that I think you should know. And so Richard Carranza, our chancellor, I had a chance last week to sit on 2 calls with him. When I did that call, I was actually on a conference call just like we're on now. And I was with every single principal on Staten Island, including our superintendents. And that call was a pretty serious call because we covered a lot of information. And in that messaging, it was clear to me that I think it's important that everyone at the PS42 family, that is our parents, our faculty, and our school leadership and PTA, right? So all the constituents that make a school a great school. So I feel like everyone should have insight of what was being said. And so immediately I met it with my staff. The following 2 days thereafter, I met it with school leadership. And here we are today, before we wrap up the school year, sharing all this information with our staff, with our parents. And so Mr. Carranza, Chancellor Carranza, shared a lot of information. Folks, as you know, the Department of Health and the CDC has not, they're not able to state with high confidence when a vaccine will be available. We all know that. That's no news to us all. We've been watching the media like everyone else, and depending on what channel you watch, you might hear different things. But in a nutshell, because of the lack of a vaccine, the Department of Ed feels very strongly that social distancing, it has to be looked at extremely carefully and mindfully. And so what does that mean? So we are going back next year in the fall. Right now there is very, very strong plans in the play. There are think tanks made up of, I think there are 9 think tanks right now within the city. And on a think tank, there are teachers, there are parents, there are members from the CEC, there's federation, there's leadership, all walks of life that run schools. There's 9 cohorts, and together they're mapping out practices that would be in the best interest of families and students and staff to keep everyone safe. But the goal is to go back to brick and mortar, and at the same time be mindful and respectful in meeting the criteria of social distancing. And so that's a challenge. And so how do challenges get really, how do we master these challenges and win when faced with major challenges? There's no I in team. It's about everyone coming together. And so if you're on the call, or any parent that attends our functions and is part of leadership and our faculty, when we work with them, we will be asking questions and we'll be making you very much part of the decision making. It will be a shared decision making process. It will not be, I can tell you with confidence what it won't be. It will not be, okay, this is what I think is going to work and we're going to try it. No. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the information. I understand our parents were asked to fill a survey out for the Department of Ed, and they asked you multiple questions. I'm looking at some of my notes, and to tell you a little bit about your child and your household and your reflections and the type of learner your child is, the type of learning and their style of learning, their strengths. They also asked you what works well for you. Would you be interested in a model perhaps in the fall of doing a blended learning approach? So if we go back and keeping everyone following the criteria of social distancing, we all cannot fit in our building. So what does that look like? So perhaps there's a model that you would be able to attend school 1 week, and then the following week you're home, or vice versa. There's also a learning model that's being considered and talked about. These are all just ideas, okay? So this is not tonight about getting answers. It's about tonight giving you insight to what's the thinking. And I will keep you always in tune with outcomes. But the model could also be attending school on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday on week 1, and the following week will be, Tuesday and Thursday, and then switching on and off. Our superintendent talked about also extremely knowing your communities, and I know 42 very well, and taking into consideration how families would be able to do that, and some families can't because of the households might be working. Folks, we have over 250 somewhat families that stay in aftercare, and we also have just under 200, I believe, or 175, give or take, students who attend morning care. Some of those students attend both. And so that means both households, in the household, both parents are working. And so these are very difficult times. So we have to take the results of what the DOE is going to give us from that survey that you're filling out. Also be very, very mindful. And this is something I think you should know as residents of Eltonville or residents, part of the PS42 family, because we do have families throughout Staten Island attending our school too. So I was on a call at the same time of hearing this, meeting up with leadership at Tottenville High School, leadership at 775-34. We've had conversations, the middle schools and the elementary schools having conversations, informally just brainstorming, because we know that if a child attends 42 and goes to IS 7 or 75, and perhaps the household also includes, and on this call right now, I know households have that, children in both environments or all three. How does that work? So we feel, the principals and I are going to look very carefully at staying aligned with each other. So as these models start to develop and really deepen, we're going to be looking at making sure households are supported. Backing out a little bit, when the chancellor was talking about a blended learning model, what that really means is that it will be face-to-face in brick and mortar, and then a part of that, depending on how what the real need is with the family and what the ability is on the school, remote learning to take place at home. So if I'm a classroom teacher, my thinking with this at this point, when I was listening to blended learning and thinking about how that looks. So if I'm a classroom teacher, my day can simply meaning I might have students in front of me, about 9 kids, perhaps, and then the rest of the students at home, and on multiple schedules, depending on the schedules, having every day kids come in and some kids working from home. That's going to be a very, very heavy lift for us all. So we have some work ahead of us and some thinking. This is really what the conversation looked like at the time. You can't make it up. I'm going to take a sip of water, and I'm optimistic, not pessimistic. The glass is full. But listen to this concept. When we first got together in March via a Google Meet or a Microsoft Teams meet as a PT meeting, and the many times I met with staff, and the many times that your children met up online with teachers and working in a remote fashion, etc., there was no connection other than technology. This model we're talking right now, I am very excited about because it's one step closer to being what we used to call that normal, getting into the building. And we're going to build off of that success. I'm also optimistic, thinking that as time goes on and our neighboring states and our politicians and our elected officials and our leadership in the schools, working in concert with CDC and the Department of Health, perhaps there will be other models where we can increase and build on that. I'll be very excited about that. The city has a very strong understanding of every one of their schools with respect to square footage. What does the building facility look like? What is the square footage in every single room? And they sent me documentation on our school, and I did a walkthrough with our teachers and our leadership, and we were looking at the number of registers, kids on our registers, as well as square footage in our classrooms. And my guesstimate at this moment is I'm thinking if a register of a K register, let's just say, we can go up to 25. And I'll talk about that in a second about our registers, but contractually, traditionally, we can go up to 25. And so looking at the square footage as well as the number of adults in a room, some rooms have more than one adult. If it's an ICT or a specialized class where we have formula paras and whatnot, we have to take that into consideration. So I'm in the neighborhood of just roughly guessing that with a register and making sure that students have access to 6 feet, staying 6 feet apart, and access to that space, and making sure that's there. We're anticipating in the neighborhood between 8, 9, or 10 students per visit to a classroom at a time. Don't hold me to that, only because we have to look at what the registers will look like and also how many adults will be in there. And then when we look at grade 1 through 5, our registers at 32, and also the number of adults in the room. So at PS42, as you know, our landscape, we service just under 1,100 kids a year. We're made up of 2 buildings. We have over 40 somewhat paraprofessionals. We have ICTs on every single grade. And so we have a very large environment and faculty. And so that has to be taken into consideration. So that's something I just wanted to share with you. The city feels strongly that looking at the data of their 1,700 schools and the square footage, they feel in the neighborhood of perhaps 50%, 49% at a time, students can be serviced in a brick and mortar environment, and the remaining students that day, depending on the model, could be working from home and then getting their equity in the brick and mortar. And then as a principal and working with everyone at the 42, making sure that we're responsive to the needs of our students and our families. Some families might want to need more, and some families might be saying, I don't think I'm ready, and I think I'm going to stay home. And so that's a dialogue and that's a conversation, and really getting to know our students well and our families. That's something we've been doing regardless before we went into this remote work, really looking at our students and getting to know them, not just academically, but socially, emotionally, and really understanding what's going on in their households. So there's going to be a lot more thinking, and that's the work over the summer. I'll also be responsible to utilize public spaces. So we have, repurposing our cafeteria, repurposing our gymnasium or our auditorium. That might sound strange to you. Well, let's think about it. Could the entire third grade or second grade or first grade or K, whatever grade, sit in the cafeteria like we used to do traditionally? Might not be able to do that model because the square footage doesn't allow it. So revamping that space and repurposing that space would be something we would look to do, including instructional spaces, creating new instructional spaces to afford students being serviced as much as possible in the building. Okay, so that is something that I wanted to start the conversation tonight with you. And when I say conversation, I apologize. It's very difficult to go back and forth in an environment like this, but knowledge is power. And I thought, besides putting this in a letter, but sharing with you tonight, it will also be very helpful. So one of the things that we will be doing next is keeping you in the know as we progress. The Chancellor also talked at length about our fiscal issues in New York City. At the current time when that phone call, that Google Meet or the Teams Meet took place, which was last week, what I remember well is the city is $9 billion in debt, a deficit of $9 billion. There's a tremendous amount of debt due to the economy and all due to COVID. And so the Chancellor said, please expect cuts across the board within the Department of Education. And so listening to that, the earmark and they're thinking approximately 3%. What does that mean? Well, for 42, let me put our business out there because it's always out there. I'm fully transparent with your budget. At school leadership, I'm always sharing as much as the information that I have, you have. And so what does that come out to? Well, that's approximately a little more than a teacher's salary. But one of the concerns I have with a cut like that is PS42 never, ever had much other than what was fiscally equitable and what we needed to run a school. For example, we didn't have a slush fund and we didn't have extras in our school. Our school was never funded that way. We're non-Title I and we do not have funds that we had readily available that we can use and hire extra staff, hiring extra staff to reduce class sizes, hiring extra staff for academic intervention, hiring extra staff to be able to support students in other ways. Our school never had that. So as far as I'm concerned, it's very hard to take something you never had or lose something you never had, I should say. So when I sit in on a budget and consultation, and that did not happen yet, the Department of Education has not yet, and I support the fact that we didn't get a budget yet, and I'll tell you why. I think New York City leadership and our educational leadership in our mayor's office and also the governor's office, whereas I think New York at large is waiting for the federal stimulus to come in and really take a look at what impact will this have on us all. And so once we really learn what needs to be cut, that's when those decisions would be made. So the budget will probably be coming in the middle of July. And so at that time, what I will be doing is having that budget consultation, approving a school budget, approving the program in which we need in order to run the number of fifth grade classrooms, fourth, third, all the way down to K. And so looking at the number of students and number of teachers we need, we will put in a budget and we will actually do an appeal if we're not able to get it. But contractually, we will have to have what we need because there's nothing to trim. And so once that's solidified, that's when I will be sharing with our families and sharing with our households the ATS numbers, because I don't want to send an ATS code out to a family prior to a budget, because what's the worst thing is doing that messaging twice and telling you, I'm sorry, we had to close the class and open this class. So we're going to do it once and we'll look to do it right. So please expect that that information once the budget comes in and I have that opportunity. I'm I also want to just talk about the expenses that the city is going to cover. There's going to be a tremendous expense for COVID materials in our building. And the chancellor said that that's going to come out of the budget of New York City Department of Ed, and not the school budget. So hand sanitizer, access to masks, access to all the materials in order to keep our environment safe and conducive for learning. And that will not be part of the responsibility of a school budget or our PTA or anything like that. What I will do is assess what the status is, and collectively, when we look at what we feel we can benefit from more, we will talk about that. And perhaps maybe we would want to put that on a supply list, or maybe we would want to put that on, added if families want to do something on their own. I rather see what the city's going to give us, and then we can modify our supply lists that way too. So more to come with that. Folks, all that was outside the building. Now as it comes into the building, where we are on certain talking points, I also would like to touch base with you. So traditionally, last day of school, or right before last day of school, an envelope will go home and with the student's report card. This year, it will be released tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Our classrooms will be, teachers will be emailing them to students, so please look for that. And we sent out literature specifically on report cards today, specifically on that topic. So please look for that. And again, an ATS code will be coming out probably in August or late July once that budget is complete. If there's a concern or a question, we have plenty of time. The teacher's last day is the 26th, so please talk to them and reach out to them. And if there's a delay in getting it, or you're having a hard time finding it, reach out to your teachers, they'll help you out. We have a virtual office, as you know. General office is on the website. We put that up there. It's probably not going to leave. We're going to keep it up there even when things go back to the new normal. But I like that virtual general office because it allows people to kind of drop a question in. And sometimes in the busyness of running a household and working from home, your intentions are good. Hit the website, drop a note in there, leave your contact information. We'll get back to you very fast. And our track record has been extremely well. Very frequent questions are coming in, common frequently asked questions. For example, also, I'm a dad, you know that. And so if we were to walk upstairs into the bathroom where my kids use, I won't call it, I'll just call it a bathroom. Sometimes it doesn't look like it, and they're all in high school and college now. But hanging in that bathroom is their artwork from elementary school. And it's all those little tokens that we save throughout the years. And we have boxes, and we have, we save everything. And I know that's important to you too. So we were asked multiple times, when could I get my student artwork, or when could I get my notebooks back? How do we do this? So every single item that was in children's desks, our custodial staff went in and did an extreme cleaning of both environments, classroom environments, in desks, outside, teachers, materials. Everything was actually done in a summer mode cleaning. And the custodial staff put what they feel. There was food. I remember I go in desks all the time when I sit down and have, I do a teacher observation. I always sit with children, and I don't look in desks for a reason, but sometimes I always laugh and I see the greatest little things in there, like a half-eaten snack or a used tissue and whatnot. But in order to do a thorough cleaning, they did. They put in the trash what was considered trash, food and tissues and whatnot. But books were all bagged and put in safeguarded. And our school aides have been going into those rooms, making sure that the bags are individually bagged. Items are placed in individual bags, working with our 2 art teachers to make sure we identify where our artwork is, and we will get that to you as soon as the Department of Ed gives us a protocol in which we can start returning materials. Right now, they said if it's an urgent item like an EpiPen, medicine, or glasses, and things like that are very important. Right out of the beginning, out of the gate, we did that. But I have a challenge. How do I get close to 1,100 materials back to students, especially our 5th graders? But we will safeguard it, and we're waiting for the city to give us guidance on how to do that. Again, everything I do is always within the realm of what's safe for children, safe for parents, safe for the staff, et cetera. Because even right now, we're a feeding site, And so it drives me crazy. I was there today, and I don't like having a cart across the front door where you can't come in. It is against the grain of everything I've worked towards in that building. Open door policy, people coming in feeling welcomed. But because we're still in a pandemic and this is the environment now we're going to be working in, we have to rethink all these little simple procedures are no longer that simple. And so how do we get materials back? So that's going to be, please allow us to give that information out as it comes in. Also, there's a lot of people asking, how do they return the devices that they borrowed from the school? And how do they return the devices that the city provided them during this? Well, we're still in COVID practices, and I want you all to hold on to everything that belongs to the school. Just safeguard them like you do with anything else. We're not worried about it now. We have confidence in you, and thank you for having confidence in us with your student materials. More information to come out with that. It's not an urgent thing. I would also like to see the technology that you have, or if you have an instrument that belongs to the school or something to that level, continue using it. I'm not worried about it right now, but at some point when the time is right, we'll do that exchange, and I'll make sure that happens. Also, we've been refunding. We did a very good job, and I want to say thank you to our front office and our treasurer and everybody. Our parent coordinator, Denise Sarno, Kathleen Ananafi, did a very good job and continue to do a good job of making sure monies go back to our families as fast as possible. Right now, we still are trying to recoup our 5th grade trip to Broadway. Broadway company itself refunded, but the logistics company, the bus company, they're working with us and they still owe us money, and we want to get it back to you as soon as possible. Due to COVID, they're still having difficulty getting that money to us, but we're still on them every day asking. Also, our self-sustaining program for After School Center, we took the monies from our parents, we gave it to New York City, but getting that back in, because we're in between budgets right now, the city is giving us an opportunity. They're asking us, give us a little bit more time and we'll get that back to you. As soon as that arrives, we'll be returning that money to our families. So thank you for that. Over the summer months, I have to tell you, this is going to be a challenge, and I feel confident with the administrative team and the front office team and the cabinet at 42. And when I say the cabinet, that's the faculty. We work for teachers, we work for parents and students. So we will be working together to provide an environment and a program that's conducive for all of our families to the best of our ability. And I'm excited that we're going to be back in brick and mortar to some extent. So I will be messaging to you all via email. As updated and relevant information comes in, I'll be sharing it with you as it comes in, and I feel it's necessary that you learn about it. But at the same time, I'm going to be, excuse me, at the same time, I'm going to be programming the building and keeping it very much aligned to the budget in which we have. And so please look for updates as well throughout the summer. So it's 7:12. I thought I would knock this out in maybe a half hour. I went a little bit longer, and I threw a lot of information out to you. But I just want to remind you that there is going to be many more questions that will appear. They will be popping into your head. All it will take, probably within 8 seconds of ending our call and whatnot. Oh, what about this? What about that? Well, any question, please use the virtual office, general virtual office, the virtual drop link on our school website. And please be sure to leave your information, your contact information. I've noticed a few times that people left good questions, but we don't have a way to get back to them. So every single question is welcomed. We will get back to you. If it's a phone call or an email, whatever it might be, we will get back to you as soon as possible. And that turnaround time will be very quick. Okay, so Ms. Reyes, I feel that the call we're on 44 minutes right now. I would like you to be able to, if you will, save this, put it on our website, and then we'll move forward. I want to just close with a couple of things that are really important that I feel that are, a good way to end the year. I am very, very proud of, and I'm not just saying this, and I'm being very sincere. I'm very, very proud of everyone's work and efforts. Everyone, you know, our children in pre-K, our children up to grade 5. I have a daughter who graduated Rutgers University, and it was nothing at all that we anticipated and planned. Her graduation was not what we wanted. So our 5th graders, the class of 2020, everyone, we can easily argue. We all got shafted. We all got a raw end of the deal, whatever way you want to say it. I hear you. But I also am looking at this as a positive thing, that if this is this learning experience, if we don't look at it in a positive light, it's going to make us better. It's going to make us stronger, and some wonderful things surfaced out of it. Along the way of servicing so many people, we learned that a lot of our households experienced loss, whether it was COVID related or not. It hit home every time we heard it. I've had staff members who struggled with it in their household as well, both personally as well as their family, including everyone on this call that I talked to. It affected us all. And throughout the whole time, we kept moving forward and we managed to do this. I met with the staff the last day before we went into COVID. We stood in a very large circle. Probably looking at it now, it wasn't appropriate, but we weren't 6 feet apart, but we were pretty much apart. And we were standing in the gym and we had a conversation, and I told them, whatever happens, I'm very proud of you. Well, I'm going to meet with them on Friday, and I'm going to thank them for everything that they did, because they hit it out of the park. What we'll be doing in September will be much deeper. And we have a very, very strong understanding. The common thing we talked about throughout this whole duration is we do understand that children need to be with teachers to learn best, to learn well. I think learning at home, yes, we kept the gap from growing. We kept it as narrow as possible. Sometimes when we go on summer, there's the summer slide and there's a gap. And then with COVID, so when we come back, we'll be quickly assessing where all our students are. We understand our students in lower grades learn how to read, and we have to do a lot of interventions in word study and utilizing our word programs and our opportunities with them so students can learn how to read and read to learn. And our upper grade students, we have to really address not only remediation and acceleration. So that's going to be for all of us students. And we have an understanding that we have a lot of work together as a community. But when we return, we're going to accelerate and continue to make the best of this. And so I want you to know that I'm looking at all of this in an optimistic fashion, and I will continue to do so. We got this. I said it a few times to the staff. It started catching on. At first, I thought they were playing and giggling and making a joke of it, but the truth is we do. And I will say that to the very end. We do have it. And so I want you to know that I plan on making sure that our students get what they deserve as we go on and continue to go through this. I promise you, and I'm looking forward to continue leading the school in this fashion. So with that being said, you want to have a one-on-one, you want to talk to me, if you want to vent, if you want to say something, I'm here for that too, because emotions are always welcomed. We are studying a lot of our social emotional practices. So when we come back, we're very equipped for our students, because we don't know what our kids are going to be needing as we go back to learning in our schools. We're not too sure of our own kids, right? How did this impact us, to be determined? But we're going to be ready, and I want to hear how kids are doing and how they're feeling, and we're going to support them along the way. So with that being said, I think I can squeeze in a bike ride if I get out by 7:30, trying to stay healthy, both in mind and body. And I hope you're doing the same thing. Again, thank you everyone for everything that you do for us at the Fort 2. On behalf of the staff, thank you for your support. We look forward to next year, and we will be in touch. I will be in touch via email. And if your email is not linked up yet, and you feel like the correspondence and the communication is still not there, just go to the website, tell us what your concerns are, and we'll help you connect with us in a better way. Okay. With that being said, everyone, I appreciate you. Thank you for everything, and have yourself a great night. Rosanna, thank you for your help tonight. Jamie for hosting, and our assistant principals and parent coordinator, Jamie, Denise, Ms. Garcia, Ms. Dulski, Ms. Six, thank you for joining us on the call too. And we're always here. Have a great night, guys. Thank you. Be safe. Enjoy the summer. We love you.
Mr. Sharkey, do you have 1 second? By any chance? Whenever you have your earliest convenience, if you can connect with me, I wanted to just offer a few things.
Sure.
for my
Just,
travels.
if you don't mind, just go to the virtual, leave everything there. Good time to call, and I'll give you a call. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Just please use that. Yeah, just use the virtual general office, because what will happen is the staff is really good when it comes to making sure that I get back to people too. You won't believe how many calls come in. You'll get a call tomorrow from us. I promise.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Good night now.